FBI, the ATF, and other departments as well. We want to thank them for their assistance in this operation last night. Also, we have the faith community to show its support, to the mental health experts, the Red Cross, and government leaders at all levels. We've been contacted by our state, our federal, and even from the White House, offering their condolences and their assistance for anything we need. Thank all of those who did that, who've reached out to us and who are reaching out to our people to support us. And also, we're very thankful for a young 22-year-old man who stopped this violent act. This young man, Greenwood's Good Samaritan, acted within seconds, stopping the shooter and saving countless lives. Our city, our community, and our state is grateful for his heroism in this situation. Chief Eisen will give you some information on him in a few minutes. He's a young man processing a lot. I ask that you give him space and time to be able to process what he's gone through last night. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Eisen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to offer the condolences on behalf of all of the law enforcement agencies involved in this incident last night to the families of our victims. This is a senseless tragedy, and our hearts are broken with yours. I first want to start by introducing some of the individuals standing behind me. This was a collaborative effort from many agencies. I have been involved over the course of my career in multiple multi-agency, both federal, state, and local training efforts and active shooter trainings, many of them at the Greenwood Park Mall. We work out the problems in those trainings so that when it counts like it did last night, we have all of these agencies coming together just like they did, working seamlessly, working together for a common purpose, everybody knowing their role. And last night was a true testament that training pays off. Behind me, I have Herb Stapleton, Special Agent in charge of FBI. Agent in charge of the ATF. Josh Watson, Lieutenant from the Indiana State Police. Commander Ron Hicks from IMPD. Sheriff Dwayne Burgess from the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. Fireman Chad Tapman from the Greenwood Fire Department. And Coroner Mike Pruitt. With that being said, I'm going to turn this over to the coroner for just a moment so that he can talk to you more about the victims. Then I will get back up and give you some specifics on what we know about the shooter, the Good Samaritan, and the events that occurred last night. Coroner.
Thank you, Chief. Johnson County Coroner Michael Pruitt. We have identified 4 decedents following the incident last night at the Greenwood Park Mall. We have been working jointly with the Marion County Coroner's Office because 2 of those individuals were transported to Indianapolis hospitals, one of those to Eskenazi and the other one to St. Francis, and then 2 of those remained at the mall. The Marion County Coroner's Office is handling the autopsies and the investigations of 2 of the individuals, and we are handling 2 at our facility. I'll identify the 4 individuals. I'll go down the list here. I will put these out for proper spelling, so I will get those out to everybody. I've already sent some of those out, but I will get those out. So the first individual that we identified, this individual was at the mall. And we are handling this investigation, Jonathan Douglas Sapirman. I want to say that correctly, Sapirman, okay? He's age 20 of Greenwood. The next individual, Pedro Pineda, age 56 of Indianapolis, and we are handling that investigation. The next individual, Rosa Miriam Rivera de Pineda, age 37. She is the wife of Pedro, so they are a married couple. That investigation is being handled by the Marion County Coroner's Office. And the last individual is Victor Gomez, age 30, of Indianapolis, and that individual is being handled by the Marion County Coroner's Office also. All will be receiving medical examinations that are scheduled for tomorrow.
Thank you, Coroner. Okay, as the coroner just said, Jonathan Sapirman, age 20, of Greenwood, is our shooting suspect. He was pronounced deceased at the scene. He is 20 years old. He has a juvenile record and no criminal history as an adult. His past incidents with the Greenwood Police Department include minor offenses as a juvenile, such as a fight at school and being a juvenile runaway. He does not drive. We believe that he walked to the Greenwood Park Mall last night. We were told by family members that he typically walks or Ubers to wherever he needs to go. We know the ATF, their specialty is weapons. As soon as we got in and started processing the crime scene last night, the ATF took the serial number information and immediately began the process of tracking down when and where those guns were purchased. If you have questions from the ATF representative here, once I'm done, he will be available to answer more specifics. However, the weapon used by Mr. Sapirman last night was a Sig Sauer Model 400M 5.56 caliber weapon, rifle. It was purchased on March 8th, 2022 here in Greenwood. The second weapon recovered, this was in the bathroom, was a M&P 15 5.56 rifle. It was purchased on March 9th, 2021 from a gun store here in Greenwood. Mr. Sapirman also had on his person a Glock 33 .357 caliber pistol. The only weapon used by Mr. Sapirman last night was the Sig Sauer Model 400M rifle. He had multiple magazines and over 100 rounds of ammunition on his person and in his possession. We know that from family members that he has been practicing shooting at Range USA. The ATF has made contact with Range USA and received records from them that show that he was frequently using their range and purchasing ammunition at that location for the past 2 years. We know that he recently resigned from a warehouse position back in May, and we have not confirmed yet. Detectives are serving a subpoena as we speak to Polo Run apartment complex to find out if he in fact was being evicted. We were told by family members that they believed he had received an eviction notice. That has not been confirmed at this time. We did locate a cell phone belonging to Mr. Sapirman in a toilet in the stall in the bathroom. We believe he placed it there prior to exiting the restroom to begin his shooting spree. The following is a timeline of events. We know that Mr. Sapirman, through surveillance video, entered the mall at entrance 4 by the food court at 4:54 p.m. He walks directly to the food court restroom. 1 hour and 2 minutes later, he exits the restroom and shoots Victor Gomez outside of the restroom. He then points his rifle into the food court where Pedro and Rosa Pineda were eating dinner and shot both Rosa and Pedro. He then fired several more rounds into the food court, striking a 22-year-old female who is currently recovering from a leg wound at Eskenazi Hospital, and a bullet fragment believed to have ricocheted off of a wall did strike a 12-year-old female who was running towards exit 4 in the back. That was a minor wound treated at the hospital. They did remove a small piece of metal jacket, most likely from a ricochet. At 5:57 p.m., the shooter was confronted by our Good Samaritan, who I will identify in just a moment. The Good Samaritan was armed with a pistol and engaged the shooter as he stood outside the restroom area firing into the food court. The shooter fired several rounds, striking the suspect. The suspect attempted to retreat back into the restroom and fell to the ground after being shot. We recovered 24 .223 rifle rounds shot by the suspect and 10 handgun rounds fired by the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan, once again, he has authorized us to release his name. He is requesting you give him time to process and grieve himself before reaching out to him. His name is Elijah Dicken, and that is spelled Elisjsha, and he resides in Seymour, Indiana. He was at the mall last night with his girlfriend shopping. One last thing that I would like to get help from the media is there were several personal property items left behind. When you have an incident like this, it's complete chaos. People left shopping bags, they left cell phones, wallets, a lot of personal property. We have recovered that personal property and is currently being entered into our property room. Tomorrow, anyone who is missing a personal item left behind can come to the Greenwood Police Training Center located at 736 Lowe's Boulevard between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. There will be officers there to assist them in getting their personal property back. We ask them to bring a form of identification so that we can positively identify the person we're giving the property to. At this time, I will open it up for questions.
Steve, can you spell the name of the suspect, sir?
Yes. It's Jonathan Sapirman, and it is spelled JONATHAN SAPIRMAN.
Chief, can you tell us about the Good Samaritan? Even though there's not a gun permit in Indiana, what was the status of his permit and his level of cooperation with your investigators?
We could not find that he had a permit. He was carrying legally under the constitutional carry law.
What kind of firearm did he have?
He had a Glock handgun, I believe.
One other question. You identified originally the SIG as 5.556?
.556.
You also said 223. Are those the same?
Okay. .556. Yes, they're very similar. They shoot 223 rounds also.
So how should we identify them? It's 223?
.556.
Okay, Chief, can you tell us about the conversation between your detectives and your Good Samaritan, what he expressed to them? And he obviously, this has been a difficult situation for him. Can you explain how he explained to you he went through this process?
Well, I personally didn't speak to him. I did watch the video, the surveillance video, which captured pretty much the entire incident. I will say his actions were nothing short of heroic. He engaged the gunman from quite a distance with a handgun, was very proficient in that, very tactically sound, and as he moved to close in on the suspect, he was also motioning for people to exit behind him. He has, to our knowledge, he has no police training and no military background.
As you watched that tape, were you able to explain to yourself what would have happened if this man had been, let's say, at J.C. Penney at the other end of the mall instead of right there? How much worse would this have been?
At that time of night on a Sunday, I couldn't speculate. I don't know. I don't know how many people were in that area of the mall.
Chief, you talked that training paid off, that you've trained before with other agencies. Can you, without giving away the trade secrets, explain how you were able to coordinate with your fellow law enforcement to respond and reach a successful situation?
Sure. So in an incident like this, when an active shooter situation goes out, there's several. First thing that happens is officers from other agencies hear it dispatched, officers at home get pages, officers in the area that might be off duty in their vehicles with radios on all hear it, and they automatically expedite to the scene. So we have a lot of self-reporting LEOs that may not be on duty from other agencies. Basically, everybody runs to help, which is great, but it can also be chaotic and cause problems if it's unorganized. So the first thing that we have to do is create staging points for self-reporting LEOs and assign a supervisor to that staging point to monitor who's coming in and keep track of where people are. The second is to establish an incident command and a unified command with all agencies that are responding. So all of the individuals you see behind me were the head of their agencies on the scene. We all met at one location, and there was one point of contact via radio traffic between dispatch and commanders that were responsible for had specific responsibilities inside the mall, whether it be clearing, whether it be fire, rescue, SWAT team members, bomb squad members. So it all comes through a central point of command with everyone you see behind me at the command center. We also obviously have to prepare for media, have to prepare for people that are looking for loved ones, reunification sites for those who don't know where their loved ones are to gather. So we immediately established that at our training center and got that out on social media and within the media for family members to report there. And then you just start processing as the incident commander for the agency within the jurisdiction. The first thing I did was call for the FBI. This is something that they are very well versed in, and they have both the manpower and the resources necessary. I knew we were going to need that. Because there were firearms available, this was involved. This was an active shooter incident. The ATF, they have resources, just as I explained earlier. They can track down where weapons were bought and when they were bought and histories very, very quickly, much faster than we can. So you just start pooling resources and getting organized, and pretty much everything else falls into place. You treat the wounded, evacuate the mall, set up perimeters, and once everything's clear, you move in to begin your investigation. And the investigations go further out. They go, once we identify the shooter, then we have to get search warrants for the shooter's house, and then we move to the house. So it's very methodical, very slow. But everyone did exactly what they were supposed to last night.
Have you found anything in terms of motive yet, or did the shooter have any connection to the mall beyond being a resident that you're aware of?
No.
Did he leave any sort of indication? Did anybody in his circle fear this was coming, or was there any note or any phone message left behind?
No. The FBI forensic team has his cell phone. It was wet. They're going through the process of drying it out to try to extract information from it. Right now, we have no motive. His family members that we spoke to, they were just as surprised as everyone else was. They said there were no indicators that he was violent or unstable.
Is there any evidence that this was directed toward the Hispanic community?
None at this time, no.
You mentioned the videotape, the surveillance videotape. Will that be released, and if so, when?
No, it is much too graphic.
Do you know how many people were in the food court at the time? Dozens, or just spread out?
I think dozens would be accurate.
Chief, can you go through this timeline? It looks like this all happened by the time you started shooting to the time you was taken down. Minutes?
Yeah, so like I said, the most puzzling piece of this puzzle is the fact that he was in that restroom for an hour and 2 minutes. We believe, and we don't want to speculate, but we believe he was getting ready. He had a waistband holster on with several magazines. He had a backpack that had the second assault or second rifle broken down in it so that it would fit in there. Several rounds of ammunition. So we think that he was kind of preparing for his actions during that hour and 2 minutes. And then, as you can see, once he came out and started shooting, it was 2 minutes by the time the first shot was fired until he was neutralized by our Good Samaritan.
Anything recovered outside of the mall that pertains to this investigation you're able to talk about at this point?
No.
What were the
Chief, when you got
first
to the scene,
911 calls that
when
came
you-
in?
when you encountered the Good Samaritan at the scene, was he escorted out, taken into custody? Do you have to identify who this person actually was and that he wasn't the actual shooter?
Correct. Yes, he was handcuffed. His gun was collected. We took him back to the Greenwood Police Department where detectives interviewed him, confirmed his statements. Once we were able to view the video, his statements correlated with the video. And
when you encountered him, can you tell us about that? I mean, did he drop the gun? Was he standing with his hands up? How do you know him from a second shooter?
yeah, and that's always a concern. That's always a concern because he was in civilian clothes with shorts and a T-shirt on. So he cooperated fully when officers arrived. He actually approached mall security and told them that he was the one that neutralized the shooter and waited for the officer's arrival.
Is there any reason to believe that the shooter was under the influence of any kind of alcohol, drugs, anything?
Not at this time. We'll know more after toxicology results return from the autopsy.
Did the alleged shooter live alone or with his family?
I'm sorry?
Did the alleged shooter live with his family?
He lived alone.
Did
Okay.
you put clothes in the bathroom too, or like a change of clothes?
I'm not aware.
Was anyone with the husband and wife who were killed? Did they have any kids or any family members or anyone with them? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Chief, the two 5.56 rifles, they were purchased legally. Were they purchased by the suspect? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Are there any other questions for any of the professionals standing behind me?
What were the first 911 calls that came in on this?
Okay. The first 911 calls were of an active shooter in the food court at the mall. That brings up a very good point. The Johnson County 911 Center is set up. If they get overwhelmed, if there's too many calls coming in for them to answer, if all lines are busy, those 911 calls are routed to the Bartholomew County 911 Center. So the Bartholomew County 911 Center received, I talked to Sheriff Myers this morning, and he said they received about 50 calls. So they were trying to decipher, and the sheriff sent his deputies to the mall to assist us with clearing it. So Bartholomew County also played a very pivotal role in this.
Is there any evidence that the shooter and the Good Samaritan exchanged, or that the shooter shot at the Good Samaritan?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Is there any evidence that the shooter had any history of mental illness or mental health treatment?
Not to my knowledge.
You mentioned the subpoena to search the Bull Run apartment. Or is there something you guys?
Oh, we did search the apartment last night. The subpoena is to get his rental records. It's not something they would release to us verbally without a subpoena, but we have been told by family members that he had received an eviction notice.
So did he live there, Chief?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Did you search the apartments?
We did. Yes, we found when the SWAT team went in to clear it, the oven was on high temperature and had a laptop within the oven and a can of butane. I don't want to speculate what his intentions were, whether it could have been to cause a fire or to damage the laptop, but we did retrieve the laptop, and that is going to go to Quantico to be analyzed. It's been damaged due to the heat in the oven.
We have been watching Greenwood, Indiana. City officials address the deadly shopping mall shooting that happened on Sunday. Police Chief there said that the responding officers did what they
It
were
would be
supposed to do.
speculation.
The
I
accused
don't know
gunman
what his
shot and killed
intention
3
was.
people. 2 of them
It
were
does
a married
appear
couple
that
that were
he
just sitting in
placed
the
his cell phone
food
in the
court
toilet
eating
and
dinner.
water.
A lot of new information came out of that press conference, and just as we started talking, we heard the chief of police there say that when they went to the shooter's house, he had a laptop and a butane tank in the oven with the temperature turned up.
Yep.
The idea being maybe he wanted to damage it, maybe he wanted to cause a fire, an explosion. We also got the names of those 3 victims, and also for the first time, the name of the Good Samaritan who opened fire 10 rounds to, in the words of law enforcement, neutralize the shooter. It sounds like 24 rounds fired by the 20-year-old who attacked that food court.
Yep.
A lot of bullets in a short amount of time.
A lot of bullets and a lot of time that he spent in the bathroom when he first got to the mall. An hour and 2 minutes in the bathroom thinking about what he was planning on doing, presumably. He had over 100 rounds of ammo. And his friends and family, whoever has been interviewed by police, says that he's actually spent time at shooting ranges practicing recently.
Yeah, didn't have a permit, apparently, under Indiana law to carry the handgun that he had with him. You're supposed to have it with you. The 2 rifles and the handgun, though, law enforcement says all purchased legally and locally under constitutional Second Amendment rights.
So many details coming up with this story. We're going to take a quick break, but stay with us. You are streaming CBS News, always on.
CBS News Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley on CBS.
You ready? A generation of kids opens up on CBS Reports.
I just want to be like a regular kid.
Their world, their struggles, their voices.